and welcome to an episode of Counselors in Cars Getting Coffee. And I am here with Chaplain Issa Kabeer. And let me tell you, I'll be real, I am not drinking coffee. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but we might end up getting tea. We'll see what happens. Today, we have a wonderful topic chosen by Issa, who is actually a student of many different disciplines. He is a religious scholar and he does chaplain work in the hospitals, and he has a very great healing spirit. So I thought he would be a great counselor to bring onto our show. And so we can just find a spot and start talking about today's topic. So what was the topic? Would you remind me again?
We were talking about the concept of active listening and being able to hear what others say. I think it's a really important topic in general because a lot of the time in our conversations and in communication, we can become confrontational with each other instead of actually listening to someone. We might think of our points and our perspectives before actually hearing what someone has to say. And listening isn't just listening to, words on a surface level. It's listening to words at a deeper level, and that's what's important. What is a person actually truly communicating? And unfortunately, in a lot of our dialogues, we kind of miss out on that, where we think about point A, point B. I want to defeat what you're saying, and I have to superimpose what I have to say. And in those kinds of dialogues, you don't have real communication.
Yeah, I think that is such a great point. And I think recently in one of my videos, I made a distinction about having intentions from your soul versus from your ego. And I think with listening, it's the same kind of thing where we can be doing it from a state of our spirit and receptiveness, or we can be doing it from our, mental, egotistical sort of wanting to just jump in here and jump in there. So I think that's definitely a great point, that we want to be conscious of how we are listening to others, because communication is so valuable. It's the foundation of our society and how we all live. So I think that's a great point. So do you have any suggestions of how to implement active listening? I know in my nonviolent communication class that I used to teach at a holistic center, we had some, but I'll let you go first if there are any tools or tips you have.
There's a lot of tools that can be utilized in this situation. Primarily, the most important thing is to not allow your own self to dominate the conversation. So it's really important in any communication that you have with someone else is to allow for when they're talking or when they're communicating, to be there and be present for them. That's super important and super necessary. There's this concept called tabula rasa, which is this kind of blank slate. Sometimes it's important to kind of clear your mind of all the other kind of goings-ons that are happening, because it's very easy to get wrapped up, as the term you used before, ego. You get wrapped up in your own self, and you're thinking about who you are, and you're thinking about your own thing. But if you really want to be there for someone and you really want to communicate with someone, you need to be able to kind of put those things to the side and not allow those things to control whatever is occurring.
I think that's good. Yeah, that's really good and important. I think that we do have to sometimes practice a sort of active meditation, and I definitely teach meditation as part of my philosophy, and I have CDs and things you can find in my links below. But to be able to empty the mind and be present is a great skill to use during communication, in fact. So that is a great point to think about. So where were we? So active listening, being centered. I don't know, I feel like we covered it. Oh, some tips that I would say, trying to really understand what the other person is saying and being really compassionate or empathetic to the point that you can almost sense where they're coming from, because their words may say one thing, but they may be trying to communicate something else that's deeper. So to really just tune in to the person, and not just the dialogue, and to really empathize and respond to the feelings and the underlying communications.
So here's some fancy terminology
that's
actually supporting exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
Which is, so the idea of listening to someone deeper. What does that actually mean? You were talking about that. So what that actually, there's a fancy kind of terminology in peace and conflict resolution, pedagogy teaching, which is this concept of positions, interests, and needs, also known as the onion model. This concept that people will say certain things, but what they're saying isn't necessarily reflecting what they actually think or what they actually want. So their interests are more, when you start peeling an onion deeper, you start to see more layers. The surface level of an onion, it's kind of this dry, flaky, peel. But when you take that off, you start to see that an onion is very... Do you want to hold it?
No, I don't know if you're tired.
No, that's no problem. Just I want to make sure you have the right angle and stuff.
Well, so go ahead. You were saying that the onion has many layers. Yes.
Yeah, positions, interests, and needs. So when you take the onion, you have this onion, you start peeling it off, and it starts to become wet and smooth. It's not like the dry outer layer. So really, what the identity of the onion is far different than what it actually appears to be. So that's just the same thing as we as people. We might present certain things, like, for example, I might want to say, I want to be cool, I want to be, smooth, I want to do all these kinds of things, but maybe this is just a kind of a scene that I'm making so people can see that, so I can fit in. But that's not truly who I am, or truly more of what I am as a person.
That's true. That's very profound, to sort of see people for who they really are. And in some spiritual circles, we call that saying hello, to their true being. You give someone a hello and acknowledge that, and at the same time you acknowledge your own, needs for approval and whatnot, but you try to give that to yourself, perhaps through your own self-love and self-work, so that you can be authentic when you communicate with another, because you're a being who's in touch with yourself, and you're able to be in touch with them authentically without these layers getting in the way of either of you. So I think that's an excellent point, and that's a great skill. Let's see. Do we have any other skills, any other points that we want to share?
Oh, there's plenty.
So many.
We can go through so many different spectrums of thought.
You know what? Maybe we could also ask, invite you guys, please comment below as well if you have ideas to add to this, because...
Or even questions that we can help you navigate these concepts. It's super important that there's these elements that you might have difficulty, like you might have conflict with people that you love, and you want to figure out, how do I navigate these things? Maybe I have a certain kind of perspective on a thing, and this person who's a loved one does not agree with me. How do I navigate that without dealing with heated, fiery conflict? How do I go through, navigate that and have a peaceful resolution, have better relationships? Communication is such a powerful thing. So active listening is also linked with active speaking. So when you're actively listening to someone, that allows you to actually have a deeper dialogue with someone. Because when you speak and say, wow, I heard these things, I'm not just hearing my own self speaking, I hear what they're actually saying, and I can go and navigate that. And you can have deeper dialogue, and this is an important thing. So
I feel like we have to do a sequel on active speaking, because this sounds like an intriguing topic that you guys will definitely want to tune in for. But unless there's anything else you want to say today, anything else?
Peace and blessings,
Peace and
Shanti,
blessings.
Shalom, Salam.
Yes, peace. We love you guys.
We love you, and feel free to communicate anything that you need. We're here for you.
Yep, so thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye. My arm's tired. hold
What, you want me to hold the phone?
Yes, can you hold it from your side?
Okay.
Maybe like at the angle. I might cut this part out.
All right, so it's cool. Is that good?
Okay, yeah, this is cool. So, and also the light is so bright on you, so it's really a beautiful halo you have there. But maybe yeah, we have some Turkish followers, so this looks really good though. But okay, I'm gonna have to edit this.